Hello, everyone. Welcome to uh, Thursday Life Recovery with Doug. I'm Doug Wilkerson with Central Christian Center and Saturday Night Live Life Recovery. Hey, thanks for being here with us today. And today we're going to be talking about a renewing the mind, uh, renewing I'm trying some new equipment here, and I'm kind of got dual things going on, but I'm gonna have to ignore it and go on. So, anyway, uh, renewing the mind, the science and scripture of transformation, um, tamping the ants. What are the ants? The ants are the automatic thoughts. Tamping the ants to hold you back. We we Do you ever feel like you have bugs crawling around in your head and, a worm eating into your brain? Um, anyway, we're talking about this renewing the mind and eliminating or tamping down those automatic thoughts. Now, I've got quite a bit of material here to try to go through today, and hopefully, I've kind of pushed on it and had some technical problems and had some more just now. But anyway, we will make it through. So, or at least we'll take a shot at it anyway. So today, the episode that we're going to be talking about is we're talking about how your thoughts shape your life, and this is so important. You know, we sometimes we how did I get here? What caused this? And there are some different variations, but one of the main facts behind how we get to where we are is because what we think shape our lives, and we'll be talking more about that. And we're going to be talking about the biblical and spiritual wisdom, the psychological insight, and some practical tools to help us in this. Now, the scripture that I focused on, it kind of where the jumping off place that started all of this was out of Proverbs 4:23, and it says this out of the NGNT translation, the Good News translation. It says, "Be careful how you think, for your life is shaped by your thoughts." I'm going to read that again, okay? Be careful how you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts. Now, there was a time in my life I thought that I was just what I was. I am what I am. This is the way I am. That my thinking is I'm a product of the world here, and my mind is loaded with whatever I'm thinking, and there's nothing I can do about it, which is a lie. But I believed that lie because I was somehow um, told that information. But I found out that that was not the truth, that I could change my mind. And we'll be going over scripture, Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, which was very beneficial. It was transformational to help me to realize that I could and I should change my thinking. And my thinking helps in a very big way shape my life. So let's get back to my notes here. So um, I'm also going to be talking about Proverbs 4:23, like I said, and the science of neuroplasticity. That may be a new word for a lot of you, but it's something that's come on the scene 25, 30 years ago, and the study of the brain and how the brain, there was a belief when I was young that once you destroyed brain cells, they couldn't regenerate. But that's not true. They found out that's not true now. And the science of that is neuroplasticity. And we're going to discuss that and these automatic thoughts these ants, okay, automatic thoughts that are negative. They're automatic negative thoughts. I didn't say that correctly. That 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 affect us. That if we're not careful, will run our life for us. That's the reason why we need to become aware of what's going on, and then step into the fight and do something about it. And we're going to be learning about alignment, lining ourselves up with our thinking, because if we think right, we feel differently, which could say we feel right. And if we feel in a this feeling that we have produces our behaviors or our actions. So we think, we feel, and then we behave. Yes, you can behave and cause some of those feelings and help reinforce some of your thoughts. I agree with that. But if you're going to go to work on yourself, you need to realize this system, what you think causes what you feel, and your feelings cause how you behave. So these automatic negative thoughts can distort reality and lead to negative emotions. We get that, right? Such as anxiety and depression. I'm going to start off again. I'm going to go back and read Proverbs 4:23 out of the GNT, and this is the Good News Translation. It says, "Be careful how you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts." And that's so you get to choose what you think. That's the good news. That's good news. All right. So this scripture, Proverbs 4:23, this scripture shows us how thoughts influence our spiritual and mental health. It shapes our life. We get to choose our thoughts, and our thoughts shape our lives. It's a system, it's a tool, it's a method, it's a practice, it's a habit, hopefully a healthy habit that we can develop. And I started this back in, boy, I don't remember, probably in the late 70s. I went to a class, actually it was a summer crash course, uh, and because I was struggling with, I mean, I knew some things, but I couldn't seem to implement those things. And then when I took this course, it helped me to realize that I needed to focus on the truth, and then I needed to eliminate the lie. Yeah, you got to recognize the lie, but then you got to stop thinking that lie. You got to transform your thinking, which is what we're talking about here. And I'm getting way off my original target, but it's all the same message. So how your thoughts uh, they are going to influence you spiritually and mentally. Um, the scripture, let's see, transform, let's see, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we will highlight how both scriptures, keep losing my place, scriptures and psychology uh, um affirms the transformational process or power of intentional thinking. I know I'm throwing this term in here, intentional thinking. Okay, we'll define that right now. Intentional thinking is the practice of active choosing to think about a topic or situation, and it can help you be more aware of your thoughts, plus challenge you in those areas that no longer serve you. If you recognize they don't serve you, they're not in your best interest, or they're a lie and they're destructive, which lies are destructive, then you can recognize that and begin to deal with that. And we'll be touching about a little bit of that, because I can't spread out too wide here in this information because it's vast. It can help you to make decisions based on facts. See, that's one of the biggest things about lies or distortion. They cause you to overreact. They cause you to be anxious. They cause you to be depressed. But if we can focus on the facts, what is the truth? And if you're able to focus on the truth, then you recognize able to recognize what's the lie. And if you can recognize the lie and you know that there's some truth there to help you to begin to make that shift. But then you have to start practicing the truth. And that's an intentional thinking that I was talking about a moment ago. So here's some tips on how to practice intentional thinking. Be aware of your thoughts. Yes, yes, yes. I remember driving down the road asking myself, well, what am I thinking? What are my thoughts right now? And that's becoming aware of your thoughts. And then asking myself, well, I'm thinking this. And I said, now, is that rational? Is that irrational? Is that truth or is that a lie? And if you are able to discern that there's something wrong with what I'm thinking, that it's not based on the truth, it's based on a lie, then you have enough truth in you to begin to turn those thoughts around. So you acknowledge both the healthy and the unhealthy thoughts, because lies are unhealthy thoughts, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Number two, intentional interrupt habitual thinking. When we find ourselves in a difficult situation, pause, examine your thought process. What am I doing? Sometimes if we just look, sometimes our thoughts jump around and they make really big leaps, or they deviate, and you need to become aware of your process. And we're going to talk about refining that process here in a little bit. So we need to think about our thinking, okay? Right? What are you thinking? Well, we need to know what we're thinking so that we can get a hold of it, because if you can't become aware of it, then you're not able to address it. Number three, gather information, which is so important, okay? You need to gather information. Information can be evidence. It can be insight. It can be understanding, okay? And you use a more intentional framework to gather facts and information. Intentional framework. That's an interesting terminology, isn't it? That came up in my information, and I thought it was pretty good. So I got some notes here on that. So a more intentional framework to gather facts and information would involve a structured approach that actively identify key questions. Questions are good because questions open up space for you to think. Like, is this the truth? Is this really the truth? Those are two different questions, even though they sound the same, because sometimes we can think something is truth, but is it absolutely the truth? It begins to create some mental space, emotional space. So seek a diverse perspective. Is there another way of looking at this? Sometimes I've had guys working for me and they tell me that it can't be done. Now I say, now wait a second. You guys are pretty intelligent guys. Let's step back and look at this for a second and think creatively. And every time I've done that, whether it's sometimes it's been with a salesperson that says they can't do something, I ask them to think creatively, and by golly, oftentimes they come up with stuff. But if you don't ask the question, they're locked down. They just continue to do what they've always done. And that's that habitual thinking that we were talking about a while ago. We can get into those grooves and get locked down. So create new resources and consciously avoid our biases. We just automatically respond in particular ways because we become biased, often utilizing the journalistic approach. I remember going over this in high school, and that is, you ask the question: who, what, when, where, why, how. You ask; those are getting driving your thinking, your thoughts to begin to try to look in different perspectives. And when you do that, you see things differently. You know, Max Planck said, let's see, oh, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And Dr. Wayne Dyer says something pretty close to that too. So, um, so when we do that, then our comprehension and our understanding begins to grow, and then we begin to see things in a different way, and then we are able to draw more the appropriate conclusions, so that we don't make snap judgments, and that we're able to make fair assessments, and not overreact, and treat people fairly, and also treat ourselves fairly. Number four, create mental habits. And by creating mental habits, creating habits to help us to eliminate worry and fear. Well, we need that, don't we? We need boundaries to help us, to keep us in, kind of like those white lines on the highway. But we need to have mental, emotional boundaries and guidelines. But if we start to get overwhelmed or emotionally disordered, then what do? Well, then we need to have some other habits or routines that we go into, coping mechanisms, you might call them, also, like being realistic. Is this real? Is this not real? Is this realistic? Is this based on the truth? Okay. Um, how likely is that? Okay. You know, those are questions we can ask ourselves and gain those truth perspective. You know, and that helps a lot. Just sometimes backing up a little bit and gaining uh, additional perspective that we're talking about. We're talking about trying to kill these ants that seem to take control of our lives, and those are those automatic negative thoughts that want to run you. So this intentional thinking is different than reactive thinking. Okay, reactive thinking is that you just react to a situation. It is a survival response oftentimes. Okay, and so but intentional thinking is different. If we think intentionally, then we're not just responding to a particular situation, circumstance that's jumping up at us. And also, it's not that uh, imaginary thinking or daydreaming thinking where we haven't focused our thoughts. We're just letting it run free to and that's not all bad at particular times. Okay, but intentional thinking is focused thinking. Okay, not reactive thinking or just passive thinking, so to speak, daydreaming. um, we want to be focused. So because we want to guard our thoughts. We want to guard our heart. We want to shape our lives. And that's what we're talking about. So Proverbs 4:23 underscores the importance of protecting our mental space, which you might even call some of our mental health. Okay, and because our thoughts shape our actions and our attitudes. Our actions and our attitudes. we should talk a lot about attitudes, but we're not going to talk about that today. So I'm going to read that scripture. Be careful how you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts. I quoted this verse earlier, Romans 12:2, and it reminds us that we uh, reminds us of the trans trans transformational possibility or potential of renewing our mind, which in renewing our mind helps us to align with God because we're lining up with the truth, what's really in our best interest. And that's what God has for us. He wants that for us, right? Not to harm us, but to help us and to line us up with His will. Because if we are lined up with His will, it's it's for our good. Okay, instead of running ourselves out over cliffs and into ditches and um, into the deep dark waters. Anyway, Romans 12:2. This is out of the ESV version. Um, it says, "Do not be conformed to this world. Don't be shaped like this world, its pattern, its thoughts, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Okay, renewing of your mind. It's your mind. You have to renew it. God has given you this mind, and He wants you to renew it. That by testing you may discern. That by testing you this is not my normal version, but I liked it, so I wanted to read it. That by testing, you may discern what is the will of God, what is good, and what is acceptable and perfect. So if we can get synchronized in that, I mean, we all want to do better. Even a lot of us would really be happy if we could be perfect. We can't, but we'd like to be as close to it as we could, which is understandable. But if we do that, the closer to His will we are, the more like Him we are, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Okay, number three, we're going to be talking about psychological insight. We're going to be talking about the ants, and we're going to talk about neuroplasticity. So, automatic negative thoughts, the ants, it reoccurs, and there are um, times that we just think gloomy thoughts. We're depressed. Uh, these thoughts causes us to distort reality, creating feelings of anxiety and depression. So we link in this neuroplasticity. That's the brain's ability to rewire. The brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated patterns of thought. What does that mean? Repeated patterns of thought. See, how you create a mental habit or any other kind of habit is you keep doing it over and over and over. Okay, and that's the reason why I'm not a believer that practice makes perfect, because practice, it depends on how you're practicing. Is it you need to have right practice. You need to have healthy practice, and you practice that, and that makes it better in your life. But if you're practicing a mistake, which often most of us do, or a lie, or we beat ourselves up for something we've done and we punish ourselves mentally and emotionally, then all we're doing is practicing the mistake, and that means we get better at it. Well, because we practice, uh, it causes us to develop a neural pathway, create a habit. And so what we need to do is make sure what we practice what we want in our life, not what we don't want. Okay. We don't practice what we don't want, right? That makes sense. But yet, a lot of us do that because we do it unconsciously, because it's a habit. Okay. Neuroplasticity, also known as neural plasticity, or just plasticity, uh, is just the ability for the neural network. Okay, it's building this neural network in the brain and to change through growth and reorganization, which is great. That's out of Wikipedia. Uh, Research by Dr. Aaron Beck shows how identifying and reframing these ants, these uh, automatic negative thoughts, identifying and reframing them, okay, changing them, okay, reordering them, can lead to important mental and emotional health. Connect this with this scripture here, 2 Corinthians uh, 10:5. It says, take every thought captive to make it obedient to Christ. That was the NIV version. The NLT version is capture we capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. What we're trying to get them to do is line up with the truth, our thoughts, our beliefs, okay? Because how we believe, that's our thoughts, affect how we feel, and our feelings affect how we behave, how we react, how we respond, how we interact. Okay, I'm almost done. I don't know how long I've gone, but I'm almost done. So, number four, practical tools. Okay, practical life tools, managing those automatic negative thoughts, those ants, and rewiring your brain. Number one, you got to catch the ants. Okay, got to recognize them. You can't deal with them if you can't catch them. If you don't recognize them, you can't deal with them. Okay. All right, so you catch them. Write down one reoccurring negative thought and reflect on its accuracy, how right it is. Okay, is that a accurate way of be thinking? Is that rational, right, or is it irrational? Is it a lie? It is a distortion? Okay, so is it right? Here's an example. Thought: I always fail. How many times have you said that? I always fail, right? Reality is, you say to yourself, I've I have succeeded before, and I can succeed again. That's one. Uh, you you rebut or rebut or replace the distortion, the lie. Okay, you change it, you catch it. Okay, so number two, replace with the truth. Okay, we're going to deal with that. Use a scripture as an antidote. Okay, scripture is the truth, and uh, you need to use a scripture that you believe that will address that false statement. I had a fellow talking with me today that he had distorted the scripture to actually, he didn't say it like this, but I'm going to say it this way. He distorted the scripture to actually to torture himself and scare himself and beat himself up until he realized that he misinterpreted the scripture. And we can do that. We can distort things. We have to be careful about that. So we need to be focused on the truth. Okay. Um, Replace it with an antidote. Here's the thought: is I'm not enough. Well, the truth is, use a scripture. How about like Psalms 139:14 says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God says you're fearfully and wonderfully. He did not make any trash. Okay. He didn't make junk. He made unique, special items. You're a part of him. He's breathed into you the life. There's nothing wrong with the part of God that he's put in you. It's valuable. It's important. So, number three, daily practice. We need to choose to practice. We need to start and finish every day with gratitude and intentional thinking. what we want. Focus on that. Does that make sense? So we do that, and we recognize by reflecting on Proverbs 4:23 that we're guarding uh, and guiding ourselves to in the area of dealing with those automatic negative thoughts, because we are being be careful. We're going to be careful how we think. Okay. The rest of that scripture is, your life is shaped by your thoughts. 5, we're closing right here. This is the close, and that is that we need to identify as a practice. We're looking at, if we can, identify one ant a week, just one ant a week. Okay, one automatic negative thought a week, and you identify that, and the one that's bugging you the most, the one that's digging in your ear, the one that irritates you the most is when you go after it. Uh, uh, Linda's little dog sometimes gets a flea, and she'll go to digging at it, and if Linda will get a hold of her and find that flea and eliminate that flea, then it's all good, right? But those little bitty bugs, those little bitty automatic negative thoughts can ruin your day. Okay, so identify one of those a week and replace it with the truth of the scripture. Find a scripture, okay, that will replace that. Uh, you know, either ask Google or an AI or something, or read a book that answers some of these thoughts. Do it, and the process of doing that even will help you to begin to turn it around. So identify it, one a week, no big deal, right? But it will help you, and when you start down that path, it becomes more and more clear to you, because you begin to have more and more mental, emotional, and spiritual clarity. So, and then pray, Lord, help me to recognize and replace those negative thoughts. Help me to recognize them and replace them. Show me, lead me, guide me. I want to renew my mind, and we need to do that daily. So, hopefully this is helpful to you. I know it's kind of scattered, but it's powerful. It's and it's you have the scriptures, you have uh, scientific research to help you to see different aspects, and that's the reason why I do that, and that's the reason why I try to tell stories and different things like that to help you to gain a mental, emotional, spiritual grip on yourself, your situation, because some of you are in bad spots, okay, and you have to do something. You have to take action. And again, one action step that I suggested today is find one ant, automatic negative thought, challenge it, dispute it, get the truth, focus on the truth, practice it, pray it, live it a week, and there'll be a change. So may the Lord bless you, keep you, may his face shine upon you and give you his peace. And of course, make healthy choices. Hey, till next time, take care of yourself. If we don't see each other, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, have a safe one and a joyous one. And by the way, be good to be in church Sunday. Till next time, take care of yourself.